students, welcome again to the course of Financial Management. I'm your course instructor Shehzad Khan Durrani, lecturer, Institute of Business Studies, Cohort University of Science and Technology, Hangu campus. In the chapter of time value of money, today we will discuss our next topic, which is future value of ordinary annuity and annuity due. So let's start. Outline it includes annuity or annuities. We will try to understand the basic concept of annuity or annuities. Then we will discuss types of annuities, and they are ordinary annuity we have, and we have annuity due. Then we will discuss future value of ordinary annuity and annuity due, right? The future value of our ordinary annuity and annuity due. And then we will come up with various examples in order to understand this concept. Start. Annuity or annuities. We will try to understand the basic perspective of the annuity or the annuities. So annuity is the experience of making a series of fixed payments over a period of time. Sometimes we are making payments in a series, for example, after every month, after every year, right? After every 6 months. So it represents a series of fixed payments. Let's say $1,000 every year, $1,000 every year, 500 rupees every month, 500 rupees every month over a period of time. So the example of this can be such as rent. You are paying rent in a series like after every month, or car payments. It can be after 6 months or after a year, depends on the agreement that you have. So the experience of receiving a series of payments for a period of time. So it is about the receiving of payments, right? What are the examples of receiving of payments, right, in a series? Such as interest from a bond or shares, right? When you are receiving an interest, right? So it's, let's say it's after a year, so you are receiving it each year, right? The exact amount. So these recurring or ongoing payments, like repeatedly or occurring payments, are technically referred as annuities. They are referred as annuities. We are calling it annuities. After explaining the basic concept of annuity or annuities, now we are able to define annuity. So what is annuity? By definition, annuity represents a series of equal payment, right? So it must be equal payment, and in a series, like after every year, after every month, right? Equal payment, let's say $1,000, right? Or it can be a receipt, occur over a specified number of equidistant period, and it must be equidistant period. Like let's say after every year, let's say after 6 months, 6 months, 6 months. So these are called equidistant periods. Types of annuities we have. So we have two types of annuities, are break down into two basic types. The first one is called the ordinary annuity, and the second one is called the annuity due or annuities due. So let's understand this concept of the types of annuities. Ordinary annuity. Ordinary annuity. An ordinary annuity makes or receiving the payments at the end of each period. Let's say, for example, initially, for example, it's the start of 2021. I'm giving an example, and you are receiving it at the end of 2021, which will be December, right? So at the end of each period, after, let's say, at the end of the year, right? So January is the payment, for example, and you will receive it at the end, for example, which is December 2021. So example of this can be, what are some of the examples? So bonds generally pay interest at the end of every 6 months, right? So after every 6 months you are receiving the interest over the bond. This is the example of the ordinary annuity. Other examples can be car loan payment. For example, you bought a car, for example, right? And you are paying the loan, let's say, after every year, after every 6 months, or after every month, for example. So car loan payment. Retirement funds or savings, for example, you are receiving it, for example, at the end. For example, you have a saving account for that, and you are receiving it at the end. Another type we have is called the annuity dues, and it can be defined as, with an annuity due, payments or receipts occur at the beginning of each period, not at the end, at the beginning, in advance payment. Let's say, for example, for 2021 you are paying in January, rather, for example, than December 2021, right? Which is for the ordinary annuity. But for the annuity due, you are paying the money in advance. Clear? So we call it at the beginning of each period. And the example of this can be rent, for example, which landlords typically required at the beginning of each month, right? So normally you are paying right at the beginning, for example, is a common example. Other example of this can be student loan payment. So this is usually made in advance, and then, for example, you are paying at the end, for example, after 5 years or so. Insurance premium, for example, normally the insurance premium are paid at the beginning of each period. So these are the examples of annuity due. Now we will talk about the future value of ordinary annuity and annuity due. Actually, we have, like, for the ordinary annuity we have the future value, and for the annuity due we have the future value, then we have the present value, and the present value for the annuity due and for the ordinary annuity, which we will discuss in our next lecture. In our today's lecture we will discuss and explain the examples of the future value of ordinary annuity and annuity due. So calculating the future value of an ordinary annuity, how we are calculating it, and what is its basic concept, right? So future value is a measure of how much a series of regular payments, again like a series and regular payments, will be worth at some point in the future. So we are referring it to the future, just like the future value we already discussed in our previous lecture, the future value and the present value. So it's referring it to the future given a specific interest rate, right? So example of this can be, if you plan to invest a certain amount each month or year. You have a planning, you want to invest some amount of money each month or year. It will tell you how much you will have accumulated as of a future date, right? So for example, how much you will accumulate, let's say, after a year, after, for example, 5 years, right? After a series of payments. So if you are making regular payments, a series of payments on a loan, for the future value is useful, clear, for determining the total cost of the loan, right? So the future value will give you the total cost of the loan. What will be the total cost of the loan, let's say after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, after the regular payments, clear? Now I will give you an example. We will come up with an example, right? Cash flow occur at the end of period is called ordinary annuity. We already defined this, right? So cash flow occur at the end of the period. So consider, for example, a series of five, it means for 5 years, 1,000 payments each year, so it means 5 years, made at regular intervals, right? For example, this is, you are paying it at the end, right? So let's say, for example, you are paying it at the end, and these are like 1,000. So after 1 year, you are paying 1,000. After second year, you are paying 1,000, which is 2,000, and then 1,000, and then 1,000. So these are the payments occurring at the end of each period. Clear? So this is the actually the basic concept, and that's how we can draw the timeline of the future value of an ordinary annuity. Now, this is an example. Now I will give you a question. This is a question. Cash flow occur at the end of period is called ordinary annuity. Example, for example, a series of payments is occurring here. For example, 1,000 payments at a regular interval with 7% interest rate. How much is the interest rate? 7%, right? So here, for example, a series of three. So it means the number of years, which is three, right? So for example, the first payment is made, for example, after a year. Clear? So at the end of first year, at the end of second year, and at the end of third year, right? So for example, these are the full payments, and the interest rate is 7% we have. So calculate the future value of an ordinary annuity. Now we will calculate the future value of an ordinary annuity. Now we will explain with an example and a formula calculating the future value of an ordinary annuity, right? The formula for an ordinary annuity is this stands for future value, O stands for ordinary, A stands for annuity, and represents the number of years that we have, right? So how much was the number of years in the previous question? That was 3 years. We were calculating it for 3 years. We were calculating it, right? How many years we have? We are calculating it for 3 years, right? R, what is R? So R represents, R is a period of cash flows that we have. Clear? So R represents the period of cash flows. How much was the cash flow in our previous question? So that was like 1,000, right? Every, so it was occurring regular payments, which means $1,000, right? So it is dollars after every year. Clear? Here, for example, this is the formula n minus 1. You are not doing any payment after in the first year. After passing the second year, so that's why in the formula there is n minus 2, n minus 1, and then n minus 3, right? So R represents cash flows, then into 1 plus I is the interest rate. How much was the interest rate? That was 7%, right? So the question is pretty much clear now. I will explain it again, right? You have 1,000 cash flows that is occurring as regular payments. You have to calculate it for 3 years, and the interest rate is 7, right? So calculate the future value of ordinary annuity. Clear? Now the formula is here. It's already given. Clear? Okay, so future value of ordinary annuity for 3 years, we are calculating it. So I wrote here 3. Then for we have R into 1 plus I, 3 minus 1, right? So the total number of years is 3 minus 1. It's in the formula. Then we will have 3 minus 2, and then we will write 3 minus 3, right? So after 3 minus 1, we will get 2. So I wrote down 2. 3 minus 2, you can get 1, and 3 minus 3, you will get 0, raised to the power 0, which is equal to 1. Clear? So we have the R value is 1,000, right? This is the interest rate, 7%. So 7 divided by 100. Clear? So if you divide it by 100, you will get how much amount? You will get 0.7. 0.07 you will get. Clear? So you can write it here 0.07 here or here. Clear? 0.07, and you can put the powers. So after the powers, you will get 2, you will get 1, and you will get 0. To take the powers, right, and multiply it with 1000, you will multiply it with 1000. This can be multiplied and then multiply it, right? So you will get 1000 because 1.07 raised to the power 0, which is equal to 1. So 1 multiplied by 1000, you will get 1000. 1070 you will get the amount, and 1145. So you will get $3,215, right? So it means that the future value of an ordinary annuity, right, in a series of payments, right, that you will receive is 3,250. Now we will move to calculating the future value of an annuity due. What does it mean? Let's explain this concept. So cash flow occur at the beginning of period. You have to understand this, that this occur at the beginning of period is known as, right? For the ordinary annuity, it was occurring at the end of period. Now it's occurring at the beginning of period. Consider, for example, a series of 3. Again we have 1000 is the payment, the regular payments we have, and 7% is the interest rate. So this is the timeline. You can show it on the timeline. 1000 years, then year 2, year 3, for example, it's occurring at the beginning. So this is the beginning year. This is the beginning year of the second year, and this is the beginning year of the third year, and the interest rate is 7%. So calculate the annuity due. We have to find the annuity due. This is the question, this is the timeline. Clear? And this is the basic concept of the annuity due. So let's see. So calculating the annuity due, right? So future value of annuity due. FV future value, A means annuity and D means due. N is the number of years, right? How much was the number of years? We have 3 again, so it means 3 years we have. Clear? Then R is the cash flows. How much was the cash flow? It was $1,000. Again we have $1,000, right? So you can write it here like $1,000 we have. Clear? We have $1,000. Then N is in the formula, which means number of years, which is 3, and I is the interest rate. So how much was the interest? It was 7%. So 7 divided by 100, which means 0.07. Clear? And this is in the formula. In the first year, for example, you are doing the payment, so N, then your payment for the next year is going to decrease n minus 1, and then for the third year n minus 2. Clear? So future value for ordinary annuity for 3 years, then 1 plus I raised to the power 3 for the first one, because n is in the formula. Then you have to n minus 1. So 3 minus 1, n is the total year, 1 is in the formula. 3 minus 2, total is 3, 2 is in the formula. Clear? Then future value of annuity due for the 3 years, 1000 into 1 plus 0.07, you are getting 7%. So it's 0.07 raised to the power 3. It's coming from the first one as its n. Then we have the 1000 value again. Clear? Then raised to the power 2, it's coming 3 minus 1, so you will get 2 raised to the power 2000, and then the power here is 1, because 3 minus 2 you will get 1. Clear? So 1000 into 1.07 power 3, if you take power 3 of it and then multiply it with 1000, so you will get 1225. If you take 1.07 power 2, multiply it with 1000, you will get 1145. And then, for example, this is 1.07. If you take the power with 1, so you will get the same amount and multiply it with 1000, you will get 1076. Add it and you will get 3440. So these are the references that I used while making my slides. Thank you.